Hey everyone, this is Nitro. So I did some Apex Arena this weekend, and my current record is 15 wins with 12 losses. It was enough to put me at 1700 points. So I went from the 1600 of gold 3 to 1700, which puts me in gold 2. And I'm going to just stop there because if I lose another match, I am going to drop out of gold 2. So it doesn't make sense to play any further. Too much of a gamble. For it to be worthwhile. At least that's my opinion. So, with that said, I should mention that for me this week, I made a change to my team formation, which was I replaced my Rene with Omega Lulls. And one huge drawback of my Omega is it's currently a little bit lacking in terms of gear. It has a Monkey King's vest rather than, let's say, a Last Rites, which is affecting him a little bit. But nonetheless, overall, it seems to work out pretty well. Judge's Talisman for extra damage against holy units, and then Uller's Bow for the extra range. With this Omega, now in the party, pretty much almost all my wins and quite a few of my losses, to be fair, relied on Omega. For example, my last battle today was against Fire, and it ended up being Omega versus Omega. I actually lost that battle in large part because my Omega died really early. But despite that, it was a pretty fun match. Not particularly worth showing because my Omega died attacking and attacking his Rachel. I was expecting my Omega to live, but I completely forgot that my Omega did not have Last Rites. So he died in that attack, and that pretty much ended it. Other than that one though, you can see there's the Omega win, Omega win, Omega win, Omega win, Omega win. So most of my matches you can see here are basically wins from Omega. So I thought I would just show one of them to demonstrate what's been going on. So here I'm just going to... So I've begun banning enemy tanks in general to force the enemy pick a tank on the first turn. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. He bans my Leonhard to start and plays Landius since I banned his juggler. Right? By banning his juggler to start, it basically forced that Leonhard ban because he was worried about my AoE attack with Leonhard. So since he played his tank, I banned 2 healers now, Tiaris and Liana. And I play my juggler to start. He now bans my Zerda and Listel, the 2 big threats usually. And he plays Chloe, a healer. Because I banned 2 of his healers, he had to pick a healer this round. So, I now ban his Zerda and Listel, in my opinion the biggest threats. And I play my Liana at this point. You know, summoning strategies still work, so Liana is still absolutely top tier at the moment. He now bans my Bozel and Elwyn and plays Rachel. So a secondary kind of healer and the debuff removal. Since it's back over to me, I now ban his characters who can apply heal reversal or cannot be healed, which is Elwyn and Sakura. And then I play Omega Lulls. So he bans Luna and my teleporter, Iris, and plays Bernhard. So, even though I banned 2 of those cannot be healed characters, he still has Bernhard who can still also apply cannot be healed effect. So, no big deal though. I now ban his Yulia as well as Luna, leaving him with Bozel and Iris. And I play my Tiaris at this point. And finally, he bans my Bernhard and Landius, getting rid of my other tanks, and plays Bozel, which I pretty much expected. That wasn't it. I wasn't sure what to ban on that previous turn. In large part, I banned Luna because I was afraid of the cannot be healed that she can apply. And the other character I banned was, let me just go back a step, sorry. Yulia, because Yulia can prevent your tank from guarding, and she is just nasty if she's been fully leveled up. So, for my last pick then, I had Lana and Chloe, and this was kind of a hard choice. Chloe could apply Aurora Ring, right? Removing debuffs and massive healing, whereas Lana could drop a summon. So I finally decided to drop the summon with Lana. So I decided to take the more offensive option rather than the defensive one. And my Lana had Black Hole, Lightning Strike, and Summon Undead. So it's 2 summons, right? Omega Lulls for damage. I had Juggler with B-Shock, Triton, and Great Dragon Barrier. And finally Tiaris with Attack Blessing, Miracle, and Heal. So facing against that was a Rachel with Lightning Strike, Dark Reaper, and Arcane Blast. Bozel with Seal, Sleep, and Black Hole. Landius, pretty standard. Bernhard is the Rapture, Sword Dance, and Faction Buff version. And then Chloe had Aurora Ring, Discipline, and Heal. So, initial turn, kind of just moving up a bit. And Attack Blessing to start. Drop a summon with Lana. And then I was a little bit worried about Bernhard being in range to AoE hit my Omega right from the start with Sword Dance. So just in case, I acted again my Juggler and activated his Great Dragon Barrier right on Taylor. And now I'm just moving the characters that will not be participating in combat this turn, trying to turn manipulate so that Omega could have a chance to attack. So now I had Omega strike, and this was a little bit surprising to me. What ended up happening was I could have sworn Omega's talent allows him to, after attacking an enemy, teleport back to pre-attack position and gain 2 additional moves. For whatever reason though, that turn it didn't happen. After attacking, which hit Landius, I was not able to move back this Omega. Not quite sure why. It was a big surprise to me, so I was forced to move Juggler forward to protect my Omega. Right. Very confused about this one, but in any case, let's continue. So, to protect him some more, I Miracle Up. I suspect what happened there was because my attack hit the guard of Landius instead of the target I was attacking. That's why this talent didn't activate. So that was an interesting scenario. That's what I have to assume. My assumption, I really thought that Omega could attack and then teleport back, and then I could just hang back. In any case though, because that happened, my Omega got put to sleep. So, I'm desperately trying to keep him alive at this point, so I moved Tiaris up first to activate some healing on Omega, because otherwise I was very scared that Bernhard's Sword Dance could kill him off. So, he continues to move up. I'm just moving my summons for turn manipulation. And now that he moved his Bernhard at last, I decide to have Juggler activate his Triton skill. So, I now send Lana forward to throw out a Black Hole. And Black Hole managed to silence Bozel, which helped. So, the fact that Omega did not teleport back had put me in a pretty big disadvantage, but Black Hole silencing Bozel really saved me here. So now, he moves up, Sword Dances, but it doesn't kill anyone, despite the Rupture. Interesting note, Omega survived with 48 hit points. So my Omega is incredibly weak in terms of hit points. I clearly need to change his enchants so that he has more hit points. Continuing on. I have Omega launch a ranged attack at 3 range on Rachel. It hit her directly because my skill was 340 and it was 3 times the skill of Rachel. Right? With 3 times more skill, when you have the surprise attack passive, right, you deal damage directly to the hero. So easily killed off Rachel that way. And then I move him back. So at this point, he tries to heal up his Bozo to try to remove the silence. It removed the other debuff on Bozo, so he remains silenced. And so I was able to heal up my party without worry. He chooses to take down Lena at this point, which is fine because I was more worried about keeping Juggler alive than I was keeping Lena alive. And then I have TRS reactivate attack blessing on Omega. So, once again, Omega, 340 skill, fighting against a Bozo of 74 skill, means that Omega can easily target Bozo and kill him off at 3 range with the other spell. So, range attack, down goes Bozo. This time, the Shadow Comet talent activated, so I'm pretty sure that this talent only activates if you attack a non-guarded target. Right. You don't necessarily have to kill the target, but you need to be attacking a target that doesn't get guarded by someone else. So, continuing on. Bernhard tries to activate a faction buff, but he had a debuff from the black hole that prevented him from receiving buffs. So for now, I just focus on healing up my party. He does the same. And then I have Liana act again Omega. Now, here's the interesting part. Omega, 340 skill, right? Chloe's skill is 134. 134 times 3 is actually 402, which is much higher than my Omega skill. However, Omega has the skill Knowing Strike, where you get plus 10% skill for each block move before battle, and you get a maximum of 30% more skill. So, because of that, I can have Omega use that attack skill to smack Chloe directly and take her down. And then I move Omega back. So with this setup, the only way Bernhard could sword dance my Omega is if it moves all the way up here. He chose to activate the guard skill on Langrisser first instead of moving up. So I was able to block and protect Omega then. And then I just start moving my characters forward into the water. It's 4v2. I don't really need to take any risks at all. So once again, I have Omega attack at 3 range, and once again, because it was a guarded strike, Omega once again does not activate Shadow Comet. But it's fine, because he's in, I can block him with Liana to protect him this way. So, Sword Dance is used by Bernhard, but this time I had Great Dragon Barrier up, and with Great Dragon Barrier, there was no fixed damage strike on any of my characters, so Omega survives just fine. So I have Omega attack at 3 range to start. Once again, no fixed damage because of Juggler. And since he killed my summon, I just drop a new one. And at that point, he surrenders, right? 4 characters against 2, he has no healer, he had no chance to come back at that point. So it just shows how good Omega is against characters with very low skill, as long as your Omega is built up. Right? Keep in mind that in order to use Omega effectively, he really needs his skill. So you're going to need to enchant up his skill from, let's say, such as this one. You can see I got plus 33 skill here, and this thing, I believe, can max it out at plus 75. So I'm going to have to re-roll this a few times in the hopes of getting more skill. And of course, you can roll for skill from on the other enchants, class enchants. So that is my current Omega. And other battles were very similar to this in a lot of ways. Whenever I got to play Omega, I would just send him forward to kill things and win. As another, I guess, example, I suppose I can quickly show this one. Just pick the random Omega levels battle. So I'm just gonna skip the battle preparation phase and just jump right in. And here I ended up with 2 tanks, Juggler and Landius, along with Omega, Liana and Tiaris. My opponent actually got Listel here. So, initially, I try hanging back a bit, because Listel's always a worry. Omega activated Breeze there, which is a nice advantage. And I begin, as always, since I have Tiaris, Attack Blessing Omega. He instant transfers Leonhard forward, and I just send Omega. So I just act again Omega and have him attack at 3 range on the enemy Listel, and was able to one-shot her. Shadow Comet activates, and Omega is teleported back. Now I make a big mistake there, placing Omega where I did, because he was able to use a Purified Machete on my Omega, advance forward, and then Fusion Dark Emperor Sword to kill him, which should not have happened. If Omega was lined up with Juggler, he would have lived. So, mistake there, which cost me Omega. Nonetheless, despite that, Leonhard is far ahead of his other characters, so I have the opportunity to crush him. So. And I go for it with Beast Shock. In hindsight, I probably should have had Landius attack first, see if Landius could have killed it, because if I go just back a bit, right, the Royal Cavalry were below 80% hit points. So Landius probably could have killed off those Royal Cavalry, and then as a cavalry class, probably could have killed off Leonhard in truth. So I likely made a mistake there in wasting my Beast Shock. Nonetheless, Leonhard is dead. So it is 4v2, and I drop a summon to make it, I guess, 4v3. And with the summon, I can do some extra turn manipulation now. So, what I do there just now is move Juggler back because his Triton had worn off. So I have my frontal characters and then Juggler in the back. So, Juggler activates his Triton, and I start with Landius attacking. Luna tries to kill off Tiaris, but both Rangers, with their 50% damage decrease, totally stops that. So, it's now a game of slowly trying to weaken my enemy's characters, since Omega Lulz died. So I'm not in any rush though to kill him, because so I'd rather just focus on getting my party healthy before engaging. And I was waiting for him to do that so that I could heal back my Landius to full hit points. Right? And now I don't have to worry about Dark Demise for a while. So he's trying to basically block me from seizing the central tiles, which is why he's kind of positioned like that. But I'm confident that I can take out Landius, who has no healers. So I start the attack with my Landius, and then have Juggler do a follow-up strike, which actually did no real damage. So, because it did no damage, I knew I had to keep my Juggler alive, which meant reactivating his Triton, which is what I did. So, I now have my Landius kill the enemy Landius for the first time. And Miracle up for another turn of attacking. So Liana does the first strike, and then Juggler does the second, which finishes off Landius, making it 4v2. So he tosses out another Dark Demise. I have my Landius activate its guard skill to start. And interestingly enough, he moves Luna back and uses Faction Buff. So there, I now basically take control of all those central tiles, and then I have Juggler here, Beast Shock Luna. Because with Beast Shock, Luna can't move now. And then that means the poison has now moved into its area where Luna will kill herself. So, and then by blocking off with the Sky Archer here, Joshua couldn't move into a safe terrain either. I just go back quickly, right? Joshua had ninjutsu, but it can only move 3 tiles. So it could only have moved onto the Sky Archer tile. So by blocking off with the summon, Joshua had to suicide. And then Luna is also dead because she's on poison and can't move due to Beast Shock. So, just another example of Omega quickly killing off an enemy character at the start and winning me the match. Doesn't always work that way, of course. For example, Listels who have last rites may very likely survive the Omega attack, especially my Omega, who is not fully built yet. But for that battle, it worked out quite well. So you can see just 1, 2, 3, 4. I had 5 wins that were using Omega. And that was really what got me into 1700 points thus far. So for the final battle, I guess I'll show this one against Girl, where I was facing off against Leonhard. Now this battle, I didn't get to use Omega, so that's why I thought I would demonstrate it. And as always, I saw the enemy had Leonhard, and I decided to ban his Juggler to start. He bans my Omega as the first character to ban, and plays Landius as the tank. So, I ban Liana and Tierras. It's my usual step to try to force the enemy to play a healer, right? And I play my Zerida to start, which probably was not a smart choice, but I did it. Surprisingly though, Girl bans Langrisser and Bozel, so it's been a weird pick ban so far. And he plays Chloe, a healer. So, I get to ban Iris and Listel as a result. And I get to play Juggler. So that's why it's a weird pick ban. Normally speaking, people are likely to ban my Juggler and Landius on the second pick if I played Zerda. But he let me play Juggler, which can get faction buffed by Zerda. So that was a really odd move. He now bans my two characters who are Origins faction, which is Luna and Leonhard, right? And plays Rachel. So I get to ban Zerda and Bozel then, and I play Liena. He now bans my Listel and Elwyn, and plays Yulia. So I will ban. That was I banned Gizerov because of his Mythical Realm faction buff, which would benefit Yulia, and I banned Luna for the same thing. Yulia is part of Princess, so I banned both of the faction buffers for Yulia, and play Tiaris at this point. So I let my opponent choose between Bernhard or Leonhard as the final pick, and he bans my Lana and Bernhard. Lana was smart because it prevented me from having another summoner. Bernhard because, well, applying cannot be healed, and and the rupture and sword dance is just nasty. So he plays Leonhard, and I get to play Iris. So here we go. So initially, I just maneuver forward a little bit and drop a summon. So the nice thing about my pick ban was that I basically while he got to play both Leonhard and Yulia, neither of them have a real faction buff. I suppose Rachel could Gospel, one of them, to act as a semi-faction buff, but on the whole, they're quite lacking in terms of buffing. And so you see here, he does decide to Gospel up Leonhard. So I have Zerda faction buff up. And Girl aggressively teleports Leonhard forward, right? With the 14-12 attack, right? This is a 5-star though, so wasn't as worried. So I now have Tiaris Miracle up, everybody. And then Iris casts Mass Resist. So with this setup, Leonhard's Ethereal Fire Machete, regardless of which direction it attacks, Juggler will be able to AoE heal my characters. And that's why I did this kind of setup. Everyone in a line along with Juggler. So he moves all the way forward to Dark Emperor's Sword, my Liana, and Tiaris. And then throws out the Ethereal Fire Machete, but doesn't kill either all. So he very much overestimated the amount of damage Leonhard can do, especially when Liana, with the Shrine Maidens, the first hit has the damage reduction, right? As for Tiaris, well, it was a combination of the miracle effect that kept her alive for sure. So he very much overestimated Leonhard's powers with this attack, especially when I had Tiaris for the miracle. So with that, I'm able to easily have Zerda kill off Leonhard. And Sky Archer can now come up and dispel to help Liana recover. And with, a character advantage, I can now pretty much slow play this and be patient. So I focus on healing up my characters first and basically staying out of range of my enemy's characters. Attack Blessing on Zerda to get her ready to attack. So he's moving up. I just have Zerda run south for now. Because in large part, I didn't think I could kill Yulia. At least I wasn't sure if I could kill Yulia. In hindsight, looking at it now, I probably could have killed Yulia. Yulia doesn't have that much defense or magic defense. So Zerda, who had Attack Blessing, could have most likely killed this Yulia, in truth. Regardless, I was playing it safe. And here, I saw an opportunity to have Juggler Beast Shock this Rachel down. Right? And it worked because he placed his characters in a position where Juggler can be beside Landius, applying cannot move and cannot guard. So that Juggler could strike. And I just move Juggler back a little, use Act again on him now, so that he can get into the water and reactivate his Triton skill. Because without Triton and being in water, I was afraid that the Lobster Behemoths won't have the damage decrease effect. So, Yulia strikes Juggler, but since I was in water, take the hit without any issue. So I now move Tiaras forward and start healing up my Juggler. In response, he has Chloe attack, but Juggler in water continues to tank these hits without any problems. I'm just focused on keeping my tank alive this turn. And so since he was not able to kill the tank, he runs away. So that was a more, I guess, traditional battle, although we got to see Yulia in action for the first time. I don't think Yulia at this time, right now anyways, is that great yet. In large part because summon strategy is still more powerful. Once the summons no longer act on their own turn, Yulia will start becoming very, very strong. But as it is at this time, because I think it's more important to use summons and turn manipulate than it is to have Yulia in your party. So give it a few more weeks and I'm sure Yulia will start to dominate. But right now, I really don't suggest bringing Yulia for Apex just yet. So but nonetheless, that was a battle which was won in large part due to making use of terrain and making use of Iris's teleport, as well as making use of Liana's act again. Yeah. Alright, so those were just a few of those battles that I wanted to show. Mainly, I mean, I showed 2 battles of Omega, and then the Leonhardt battle where I didn't use Omega, but most of my battles this weekend were really just using Omega over and over again and having him win me matches. So, alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video of the use of the 2 new characters, Omega and seeing Yulia in action. Now, one last thing I should mention. Even though Omega is very, very powerful in this video when I used him, that's only because he was able to have 3 times the attack of the enemy heroes. Sorry, 3 times the skill of the enemy heroes. That may not be the case once everyone gets their buffs upgraded. For example, I mentioned already that you can get up to 75 skill from the Arena Mastery. If characters have 75 skill in addition to their base skill, it becomes much harder to have 3 times their skill for your attacks with Omega. Thus, Omega currently dominates because people have not gotten their new enchant systems fully upgraded yet, but once the new enchants are fully upgraded, I think Omega will become much weaker. So just keep that in mind. Omega is not overwhelmingly overpowered. Well, let me edit that. Omega is currently overwhelmingly powerful, but likely in a few more weeks, let's say in January or so, Omega will become quite weak due to the lack of 3x skill when attacking enemies. He'll still be able to ignore enemy guard due to him having 2x the skill of the enemy, but he won't be able to one-shot them the way my Omega has been doing so far. So, we'll see if that changes though. So, with that said, thanks for watching everyone. I hope you found this video useful, and on that note, Nitro out.